Rapper Quando Rondo, whose real name is Taekwon Bowman, will serve 33 months in prison.
It was just hours ago, right outside this courthouse, Quando Rondo heard his fate. But Rondo is taking a positive approach, telling WJCL 22 News exclusively that he's going to be taking this 33-month sentence, just one chapter in his next story.
Just a couple of moments ago, we stepped out here from the sentencing hearing, and now Taekwon Bowman, otherwise known as rapper Quando Rondo, was sentenced today to 33 months. Anytime he's already served, the judge ruled, will count towards that sentence, and he'll also pay a $40,000 fine. And the judge also ruled that he'll serve 3 years of supervisory release after he is released.
I did the wrong thing, and I'm getting punished for it, so I want y'all to know that you actually get punished for doing wrong things. Just do the right thing.
Quando has finally been sentenced, and the streets are not calm because it may be forever. Over the years, Quando has been curled up in the conspiracy of the death of King Von.
Documents allege that banks paid for and planned out the attempted murder of rival rapper Quando Rondo in Los Angeles in retaliation for the murder of OTF rapper Davon Bennett, also known as King Von.
And it seems like this sentence may just be opening a chapter of endless court cases. Let's explain. So Quando Rondo was sentenced to 3 years in prison this past Wednesday after he made a deal with his prosecutors last summer and pleaded guilty to a single count of conspiracy of possession and distribution of marijuana. And it's got everyone wondering if this is about to be a tale that opens doors to more sentences. Under his plea deal, prosecutors dropped a more serious charge of conspiracy to possess and distribute methamphetamine, coke, fentanyl, and marijuana.
Rapper Quando Rondo, whose real name is Taekwon Bowman, will serve 33 months in prison.
If convicted of that initial charge, Rondo would have been facing up to 20 years in prison. The lesser charge he was convicted of carried a likely maximum charge of 5 years in prison. After his plea hearing in August, Rondo granted an interview where he expressed remorse, saying, "I really want to give an apology to the city of Savannah, and I want to give an apology to my family and friends, loved ones, and most of all my daughters for taking all my family and all my loved ones through this stressful point," he said. Not long after, the U.S. District Court Judge R. Stan Baker announced Rondo's sentence, claiming that he must serve the 33 months jail time in a federal custody, followed by a 3-year supervised release.
That he'll serve 3 years of supervisory release after he is released, and that release includes things like mental health counseling, drug testing, and educational resources.
But it does not end there. Rondo must also pay a $40,000 as fine.
He will also pay a $40,000 fine.
But while this punishment may seem temporal for his recent crime, word swirling are that it may be leading to a more grievous sentence. Because if we all remember, the Lil Durk's case is still in court, and Rondo is undoubtedly linked to the criminal case. Take a look at this. Prosecutors alleged that Lil Durk had wanted Quando dead as retaliation for the fatal shooting of his rapper friend King Von outside an Atlanta club on November 6, 2020.
Shot and after a deadly fight erupted in front of Monaco Hookah Lounge. 2 men approached King Von and his group in the parking lot, and an argument ensued. The argument quickly escalating to a shootout between the two groups.
Prosecutors also believe that Quando was involved in an altercation with Von shortly before he took the fall. After the MDR, defendant Banks made clear, in coded language, that he would pay a bounty or monetary reward and/or make payment to anyone who took part in K-ing Bowman for his role in Bennett's MDR. Banks' superseding indictment said. To put this in clearer and a more elaborate context, let's take it a little back to how all this unraveled. The number of times Lil Durk has allegedly tried to slide for Von on Quando is insanely countless. But what's even funnier is that for every attempt made, he greatly failed. Lil Durk's downfall apparently started when fans initiated the slide for Von movement, a phrase that partly stems from a famous King Von lyric where he rapped that if he died, his people would slide daily to avenge him.
Boom, boom, and if I should die, I'm boosting the murder rate. My slide every day.
Added to this are lyrics from Lil Durk on Pooh Shiesty's song Back in Blood, where he says that if the KIR isn't dead, you can't wear an RIP shirt. This clearly put an immeasurable pressure on Durk to seek revenge for King Von's death, and he even made the mistake of publicly acceding in an interview that he had truly slid for Von, which may be part of the evidence being held against him as we speak.
The slide for Von comments. I don't know if people still say it.
some reason, I just don't see them comments. You see them comments a lot?
They kind of chilled out a little bit.
I wonder why.
The fateful night when Quando Rondo's close friend and affiliate, Lil Tim, pulled the trigger that offed King Von, it got the streets wild and at alert. This, meanwhile, means that it did set off a chain of relentless and violent events. Von's reputation as both a feared figure in Chicago drill circles and a successful rapper made his death highly charged. For Quando Rondo, Lil Tim, and their affiliates, Von's death meant they would likely face retaliation from OTF and other Chicago figures loyal to Von. On April 16, 2021, just months after Von's passing, there was allegedly an attack launched on Quando and his team. But Quando went online to debunk the rumors that he'd been shot at. He claimed he was protected, often riding in a bulletproof vehicle to safeguard himself. But it probably was all fluff because what was about to come countered his statement. After that post, that same month, Quando announced a concert date for May 1st, 2021 in Waycross, Georgia. Since Quando's previous shows, which were scheduled soon after Von's death, had been canceled due to raising concerns of gun violence. But this concert was different. It was more like it was intended to send a message. He was oh so determined to show the world, including fans, detractors, and rivals, that he could still travel, perform, and live life without the fear of being attacked. The reality would prove more complicated because on May 1st, Quando performed on the stage in Waycross, Georgia, but the turnout was surprisingly sparse. Clips surfaced of Quando performing to a nearly empty venue, and Quando himself eventually expressed his disappointment at the rate of turnout after the hype. He even went on to indulge his fans, explaining how dissatisfied he was. But despite that, he still showed so much gratitude to those who had supported him and turned up despite the heat going on.
I ain't gonna lie, man, my show was really big, you feel me? People at this, but I know I got a lot of going on, you feel me? But I still appreciate everybody who...
On the other end of this feud, Chicago affiliates of Von and Dirk, such as Mimo 600, were swift to mock Quando, seeming like they meant that he had lost money on the show. But the low turnout would soon become the least of Quando's worries because this was where it hits. As the night progressed and Quando and his team left the venue, they made a stop at a Circle K gas station around a nearby town of Blackshear, just 11 minutes away. Around 3:20 a.m., Quando and his entourage were parked in the gas station lot, and someone just began to shell them with rounds of gunshot from across the street. Later, reports suggested that the barrage was so intense, with nearly over 100 bullets fired at Quando and his crew, and to the least, one person was hit, sustaining a gunshot wound to the hand and ending up in the hospital. Quando, as always, managed to make it out of the situation before the authorities arrived. The haze for who exactly was responsible for the shooting was in the air, but it was not for so long. Shortly after that incident, a gang from Savannah known as S8K, or the Section 8 Kids, sent a cryptic message online with a caption reading "Get Back Gang." This phrase carries significant weight in Chicago's gang landscape, as it's the name associated with King Von's own group, known for its emphasis on revenge. Adding to the intrigue, though, the post featured audio from Lil Durk's track Hellcats and Trackhawks, in which Durk raps about catching someone lacking at a show. It was a lyric that seemed like it was supposedly highlighting the circumstances of the attack on Quando.
Search for his gun, where his pole at? We on his ass where his shows at.
Well, Quando and his crew would not hold back. They would start with indirect jabs, but definitely went bolder as the feud intensified. The jabs were apparently a vivid insult on Von's Get Back gang, stating loud and clear that there's no get backs, as if to taunt those loyal to Von and question their capacity for retaliation. On the same track, he goes on to claim that his shooters are willing to do hits for as little as $1,500, suggesting a ruthless commitment to eliminating his rivals one by one until he reached the top dog. Many interpreted this as yet another uncertain reference to his desire to eventually take out Lil Durk himself, a sentiment he would later allude to again in the music video for his song Soul Reaper.
Walk down the street, we gon' do this for rap. Extension stock G23, I'm trying to knock up.
Well, it looks like Durk was done and over with all of this. So in August 2022, he allegedly took a swing, and this time resulting in the death of Quando's friend, Lil Pub. How did this all start? On August 18th, and Quando Rondo arrived in LA with his crew, which included his sister and his cousin Lil Pub. Like many rappers in the game, Quando followed the common tradition of tapping in with local affiliates in the city. Quando, widely known, is connected with a Crip set in LA, so naturally he reached out to let them know he was in town. But things took a dark turn after this. Not long after he tapped in, OTF and Lil Durk's crew allegedly had all the information about Quando, from his location to his maps while he would be in the city, to even all the details of his itinerary. Now, it's still up in the air how the OTF got this information so quickly. Was it just a coincidence, or did someone leak the info? Either way, as soon as Quando landed, it appeared like they were at alert. After learning Quando's whereabouts, it's said that Durk's people moved so fast with their plans. The flights, rental cars, everything was just worked on in a blink of an eye. The OTF members would be in LA sooner. While it may seem like a retaliation, there were words that a reward was tied to it, so the urgency wasn't just of the blues. It was said that there was already a bounty placed on Quando's head, allegedly by a co-conspirator one, the main person financing this operation, and in that case, it meant that many people were ready to go all in for the reward. However, there were speculations that the co-conspirator, one who might have placed the bounty, could have been, or was in actuality, Lil Durk, given his high rank and resources in OTF. It's his label, his credit cards that were reportedly used for the booking of everything used in carrying out the operation. The setup seemed all too organized, with multiple people involved in what appeared to have been a revenge mission.
Co-conspirator 1 seems to be aiming at somebody who's a boss within the OTF organization that could call that could put money. Would be Durk, or it could be Durk's brother who passed. But the only person living would be Durk. It could be Durk.
Once the OTF gang landed in LA, they moved like a clockwork. They got what they needed to accomplish their purpose of being in LA, from the cars, hotels, ski masks, to firearms. They even communicated using encrypted messages to avoid suspicion or any trace leading to them aftermath. Eventually, they all gathered near Quando's hotel, knowing his entire schedule, even when and where he'd be heading next. On the day of the ambush, Quando and his crew were driving a black Escalade with OTF members tailing him in a white BMW. They tracked him discreetly, trailing his every move. It's said that Quando wasn't even aware he was being followed. When they finally caught up with him at a gas station, they wasted no time. The crew parked nearby, hopped out, and began firing. The tragic part is, Quando himself was inside the vehicle, but his cousin, Lil Pob, was outside when the shots rang out. Pob was hit, but Quando was fortunate enough to have made it through unharmed. While their actual target, Quando, escaped without a scratch, his cousin sadly didn't survive.
Shots fired, a fight taken to the streets, and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
Well, it might have appeared that Lil Durk had set himself up to stay clear of any direct ties to the whole situation. He made sure to tell the crew, look, even though you're using the OTF credit cards, don't book anything under my name, my family's name, or anyone remotely linked to me. Durk's intent was to be nowhere in the official paper trail, and the reason we know he specifically instructed one of the orchestrators, who many think is cooperating with the feds, is because this person was tasked with booking the private jet for the group. Durk wanted to make it clear for his name not to be used for anything pertaining the attack, but it didn't quite work. In a recent update, Lil Durk pleaded not guilty to the allegations that he had sent a group of masked gunmen after Quando and his affiliate in LA in 2022. Quando, meanwhile, is due to begin serving his prison sentence no later than Jan. 10, 2025.